Great to see everyone here. You made it out in 8-degree temperature. Shortest day of the year, solstice. And a few days before Christmas. Let's pray. We are going to look today at the virgin birth of Christ from the book of Isaiah. Thank you, Father, for an opportunity to look at your word, to see the promises of God, to believe them, and to share them with others. I ask your anointing on this class, the recording of it, all those who will see it until you come. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Mary, attendance.
You're going to use your whiteboard. I'm going to give some review questions. Those of you who are taking the course for credit, take note. The review questions will be somewhere on the test. Aha. Yeah. No surprises. This is what I want you to learn. I'll put it up front. So we do a little review. As some of you know, that if you hear something and see it, a week later, you might remember 20% of it. If we do a little review, we can bring that up a little bit. We want you to just learn these things and forget them. So, here we go. Isaiah prophesied during the reign of 4 kings. Would you write the names of those 4 kings on your board? We'll give you the answers in a minute, but try it. And by the way, you can cheat. You can look at each other's boards. That's just fine. I don't really care where you learn it from as long as you learn it. If looking over your shoulder helps you learn, then you look over your shoulder until the test.
I got 2. What do you?
Yeah, I know.
Okay? So, you're writing the names of 4 kings that he prophesied under.
Joe, what's his name?
Some of you I know are checking the Bible. I guess that's okay.
That's right.
That's all right. All right. Okay, I'm going to give you another 60 seconds and then we'll start with those kings. So we start a little slow, but this is for those who were here last week. I got to bring this back to you a little bit. And I would say, I've seen different dates, but when you consider Isaiah, when was it written? Figure 700 BC. It's a ballpark figure. You know, they argue over exact dates. This book dates back 700 BC. So, our first king, anybody have it? What do we have? Uzziah.
Yep.
All right. What's the name of our second king? Jotham. I hear Jotham. Okay, now I know these kings. Don't erase their names yet. Okay. Our third king that he prophesied to.
Ahaz.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Ahaz. And our fourth and final king that he prophesied to, most famous of them all, who is it?
Hezekiah.
Hezekiah. Now here's the question. Now, let's see, we'll identify here. Make a circle around the names of any good kings and write an X over the name of any bad kings. If you weren't here last week, this is, news to you.
Here.
And math, let's see. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Who's the bad one in the bunch, folks? Ahaz. The shocking thing is, the promise of Messiah, of the virgin birth of Messiah, is made to the bad king, Ahaz. Now, as we go through this, I have a question that's going to come up. We're going to do it about 20 minutes from now. I'm going to ask you, why would God make such a wonderful prophecy of the virgin birth of his son to such a lousy king? You think about that. Matthew and I have been discussing that. There's a couple possible answers, and I'm going to take answers from all of you, or as many want to offer them. It's a bit of a puzzle, but there is a rhyme or reason to it. He couldn't be much worse, and he couldn't be given a more wonderful prophecy. Yes, that's the puzzle. Okay? So, let's go on here. And by the way, we mentioned this before. The first king, Uzziah, Isaiah was alive. He was in the king's court somehow. But there's no record of him per se prophesying to Uzziah. We do see it talking about him having a vision in the year that this king died. He was a good king. We're sure he shared things, but we don't know much about them. But we know a good deal about what he said to the next three kings. Our next question here. Isaiah does not call his book a prophecy. Instead, he calls it a blank. What did he call his book? It's another word for prophecy, really. Write that on your board. So I want to see some boards held up there. What you got? Yes, this is like Patrick with his glasses on and his vision. I gotta pick on him. Yeah, right, all right. Now you're famous, Patrick. People all over the world will see that. Anyways, now, so he calls it a vision. Next thing here, just we're doing a little review here. Vision. God begins his withering denunciation of Israel by saying that his people were dumber than two animals. Those beasts of burden, which animals were the Jews in Judea dumber than? Which two animals?
Donkey.
What's the big one? Dumber than the what, folks? And the smaller one? Donkey, yeah, the ass, yeah. You heard my first class, you know what I said about it. Anyways, okay. All right, now, this gets interesting. Okay. An ox and a donkey. So, why, and I want you to write an answer out here, a bit of a little short essay. Why were oxen and donkeys smarter than the Hebrews of Isaiah's day? Why were they smarter than the Jews? This may not be the most exciting part of class, but it does wonders for your memory. Okay. But can you read what he said here? They knew their what? Their owner. They knew who was their master. And the Jews had forgotten that God was their Lord and their master. And that way those animals were smarter than the Jews. Okay. So we are looking at a backslidden king. His father, King Ahaz, we're going to look at him today. King Ahaz's grandfather was a godly king and blessed of God. His father Jotham was a godly king and blessed of God. And he is a bit of a reprobate. And we'll see how God deals with him. Not harshly, actually. He does, but he also really tries to win him and create faith in this man. And we'll look at how God tries to create faith in this godless king. So, our next question. Yeah, there we are. The ox knows its owner, the donkey its master's crib, but Israel does not know, my people do not consider. The Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible is called the, give us an answer. Oh, you're yelling it out loud. Please on your board. Don't let them get it themselves before you give the answer. What's it called, folks? And how Roman numerals, how do we write it short? LXX. And often that's how it's done by commentators. It's in the LXX. Because there were 72 scribes who translated the Torah in Alexandria. They rounded the 72 off to 70, and they usually called the LXX. It's the first Greek translation of the Hebrew Scriptures. We do not have a complete copy, per se, extant in our hands of the Septuagint. We have different pieces and parts of it. And scholars try to put it together and see what we have. So that's an interesting thing that way. And there's some debate as what should be in it, which is the best copy, and who does what, but we're not going to worry about that. But it was, the point is, in the day of Christ, it was the scriptures that the apostles preached from and quoted. So it was a Bible used in New Testament times. And of course, what's important to Isaiah is, Isaiah dates back 700 BC. But we have, you know, the Septuagint by the 2nd century BC was translated. That means 200 years before Christ is born, we have a Greek translation of the Hebrew. You can't translate what doesn't exist. So there was it's proof that it dates back long before all this happened. You can't late date the prophecies about the birth of Christ. They all were given hundreds of years, at least hundreds of years, before they happened. And important you think about it. Tell me about the life of someone who's going to be born 100 years from now. Tell me where they're going to be born, what they're going to do, how they're going to die, what they're going to say. You can't do it. The great proof for scriptures is always the fulfillment of prophecy. If you want to prove to someone that Christ is Lord, you show them the prophecy and you show it fulfilled. It shows that if you can foretell the future flawlessly, then it's inspired by God. And Isaiah did just that. That's the proof of prophecy and the proof of the scriptures. So we keep going from there. The Septuagint, there's the spelling of it, as some of you forget. And let's see,
Projector's
go
not
a
on.
little bit.
Pastor, how do you turn this on?
What happened to my?
I might hit the button. The power's on. No, the power's on.
It turned off?
I don't know, the light's on.
But it's right, I think you have to press it again.
Push the button again?
Okay, hold. I don't know if it'll work or not. It may cool off. I don't know why it did that. Did anybody
I
touch
don't
it?
remember seeing any light on the screen in the beginning.
Let me just check wires.
How the green light's on.
It's going through it. It's going through its cycle. I have no idea why. I suspect I kicked something up here. Anyways, all right. We'll keep going while we're doing it. I'll give them to you orally while we're waiting for that. The great Isaiah scroll found at Qumran, 2 kilometers from the Dead Sea, dates back to what? The great Isaiah scroll. We spoke about it last week. Found amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls in Qumran, 2 kilometers from the Dead Sea. How far does it date back BC?
700?
Matthew's got 100 to 160 BC. That is the range. I've seen between 100 to 200 BC, depending who's writing about it. Very good. So, the importance of this is Isaiah is the oldest book of the Bible that we have a complete copy going back this far in history. There is no complete manuscript of a book older than that. Now, interesting enough, this is a question I didn't share with you last week, and I should because it's very important to understanding the scriptures. The great Isaiah scroll is about blank years older than the next oldest extant copy of the book of Isaiah. Take a guess. How much older is it than the next oldest copy we've ever found? And this will shock you. What do we got here? Anybody give me a guess? See if someone guess it right. It's getting close. 500 years older. Anybody else? What do you see? Is it got any numbers on those boards? Here we go. This is a shocker. Now, yes, 1,000 years older than the next oldest complete copy of Isaiah. Now, this enabled Bible translators and scholars to do something. The question is this. We have a copy found in Qumran, the great Isaiah scroll. We have a copy of Isaiah 1,000 years later. Were they the same? This is the question. People analyzed them, and here's what they found. Some of the spellings changed because over 1,000 years, spellings, what? Change and languages change. There were a few typos here and there. Second question, Did any of the changes change any of the meaning of any of the passages? Zero. People have looked at this, liberal scholars, no one says, see, over 1,000 years, the meaning of Isaiah. No, it did not change at all. It said exactly what it said. The idea is, even though there's human error involved, if you will, God somehow is able to maintain the integrity of the scriptures over 1,000 years. It's part of why we believe we have a Bible who's inspired by God, and God has kept the scriptures. Now, those of you who've studied how the scriptures were copied, the rules that Jewish scribes followed to copy a book were exacting, so they would find errors. You know, like, what is the middle letter of the book? How many letters are on each page? There's exacting rules so that the copy was just as good as the original. So this is one of the great proofs we have that God has kept the integrity of the original documents, even though we have copies. Over 1,000 years, Isaiah says what Isaiah said. All right. If you want to, my source of that was Josh McDowell, Evidence That Demands a Verdict. You can read it for yourself if you want to look that up. So, what does the name Isaiah mean in Hebrew? We gave you two variants of what it means. What does Isaiah mean? It is important to the book and to what he writes about. I see up front, good memory, Patrick. Be a scholar now. Put the bust down and be a scholar here. Lord saves. And God is salvation.
Amen.
Yes? Yahweh is salvation. Yeah, that's what it means. And of course, because this book talks about the birth of Jesus Christ, who is God, then Yahweh or Jesus is salvation. So Isaiah's name represents who he's going to present. That's why it's important. And we'll get into this. Both of his sons have prophetic names, and he married a prophetess. This is interesting. So we'll look at the prophecies about his sons we're speaking about. His youngest son, or his second son, has the longest name in the Bible, which I have to look at. I can't pronounce for you offhand. It's an interesting name. Okay. So, the Lord is salvation, or salvation, the salvation of Jehovah. Both were presented in this book. Isaiah prophesied for about blank years. How long of a time did he prophesy over? We gave you a pretty good ballpark figure on this. We don't know exactly, but we have an idea. His lifespan, how many years was he actually prophesying for? Can't be 900. Yes. All right.
56.
Getting great answers from cowboys and bus drivers. Scholars, 56 years. Very good. Okay. And a few more questions. To do this for review for you, and then we're going to get into today's lesson. Isaiah said the whole head is blank and the whole heart is what?
Yeah, right now.
Now then, some of you have been watching the news last night, so you know it. Because always talks about this. Yes. The whole head is what, folks? Tell me. Sick. And the whole heart is faint. The idea, I talked about the whole head being sick, but I didn't talk about the whole heart being faint. The idea of the heart being faint is many times we have good intentions, but we're faint-hearted, and we don't carry through on those good intentions. So many of us think we're good because, you know, we have admirable goals. But then actually what we do is not so admirable. So these two are put together for a reason. The head is sick and the heart may know what's right, but is very faint when it comes to doing what's right. This is the human condition. All right. I will mention this. I'll get into it later. Later on in the book, there'll be the famous, when we can talk about the suffering Messiah, we'll hear the phrase, in his stripes we are what?
Healed.
Healed. The question is, what kind of healing is this? Does this mean that if we believe the scriptures, we're already healed and we believe it and claim our healing? According to the book, the sickness here is what's sick? The head. And the solution to that is faith in Jesus Christ, and it does not, if you will, refer to physical healing. In context, Isaiah is talking about the head being sick and the heart being faint. So when he says, and we'll talk about what it actually says, when it says, in his stripes you are healed. So if the sickness is the mind and the heart, then the healing is the healing of the mind and the heart, which is spoken of elsewhere in Isaiah. So when you get into someone who says, claim your healing, and my next question is, what do you do when they die?
Let's go.
And because it always happens. And of course, we want to believe God for physical healing, and I believe in physical healing, and I may share about some. But I don't believe in healing in the atonement. We just claim our healing, and because then you walk into someone who's sick in the hospital and says, claim your healing, and they're dying of cancer. And I want to throw the person out of the hospital, for being so offensive, but people do that, And whenever I hear that from someone, I say, just wait till you're sick. I mean, literal. I've seen this happen with people. Crash and burn goes your theology. All right? So anyways, let's go on from there. The whole head is sick, the whole heart is faint. And we're done. That's our review.
Can you go back to review real quick?
Just a few notes on this page that I missed before. We'll do a quick review, and then we're going to get into some new things here. Oh, here it is. We mentioned that in Hebrews 11:37, it speaks of one of the saints of old being sawed asunder. In tradition have it was Isaiah that's happened to, but there's no proof for it. So it could have happened, but it's speculation. So we don't really know for sure. But that's the reference. And the other thing says he's married, and he had 2 sons, and his names served as prophetic object lessons. So I'll just names down here in your notes. Shear Joshua, who we're going to look at today, okay, and his name means the remnant will return. Isaiah prophesied that both first Israel, the 10 tribes of Israel, and then the two southern tribes would be Judah and Benjamin, half tribe of Benjamin, would go into captivity later. But he actually does this. Before they go into captivity, he names his son, the remnant shall return. So he's promising to return before they're even taken. That's how far in advance he is. But that was his name. And Shear Joshua is in the prophecy. He's involved in the prophecy of the virgin birth in the story. He went with his father to proclaim this prophecy to Ahaz. Then the second one, Maher-shalal-hash-baz. That is the longest name in the Bible. So what does it mean? Hasten booty, speed to the loop. And what it speaks of, he was prophesying, when he gave that name, has to do with prophesying to the 10 tribes of Israel that had given themselves over to hundreds of years of idolatry. He said, you know what's going to happen to you? You're going to be defeated. And when you're defeated by the Assyrians, you know what they're going to say? They're going to say, Maher-shalal-hash-baz. Hasten booty, or quick to the booty, and speed to the loop. Meaning they're going to rob you blind after they defeat you. So, his 2 names, and this is an interesting family. His wife is called a prophetess, and the 2 sons are given prophetic names about things that will happen. So this is an interesting family culture. I come from a family of many teachers, but Isaiah, he's like everything has to do with prophecy with his family. It's unique in the scriptures. Kind of fun. All right, now let me close this. We're going to get into something else here. Not fair. When I first read the prophecy of Isaiah about the virgin birth in chapter 7, behold, a virgin shall conceive and bring forth a son. My first reaction to it was, what a miracle that they left it in there all those years. They must have thought Isaiah was a crazy man. I mean, what a, come on, Isaiah, get real. This does not happen. A virgin going to conceive, bring forth a son. Can't happen. But when I began to study more of the Old Testament scriptures, I realized the birth of a Messiah is not just from one, it's several places in the scripture. So I want you to see some of those places. In Proverbs 3:4, we have questions about God here. Who has ascended into heaven or descended? Who has gathered the wind in his fist? Who has bound the water in a garment? Who has established all the ends of the earth? The answer to all of these is God. And then it says, what is his name and what is his son's name, if you know? It does not give the name of God. It does not give his son's name, but it clearly declares that God has a son. So in Solomon, in all of his wisdom, it was revealed to him that God had a son. So here we are. Who is the son? We want to know more about him. We know he's there. Let's continue with this thought. In Psalm 2, and a little background on Psalm 2. It's a Psalm of David, and in a very real sense, everything in this psalm can be attributed to happening to David. And I won't go into all the ends of that. But I believe that it was just a partial fulfillment, that Christ fulfilled these scriptures to a degree that David never could have. But, so I haven't got time to do all that, but just the high points here about introducing Messiah Jesus and his birth. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel against the Lord and against his anointed. The Lord and his anointed. Of course, Jesus Christ means Jesus the anointed. And then I marked in red here in verse 6. Yet I will set my king on my holy hill of Zion. David was a chosen king of God. He did rule from Zion or Jerusalem, but it's more greatly fulfilled in Jesus Christ. He is the king, and he will be set on that holy hill, and from Jerusalem he will reign forever and ever. So we see a partial fulfillment and a full fulfillment. And then down in verse 12, kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all those who put their trust in him. Put their trust in who, folks? Jesus. The King and the Son. He's anointed, he's the King, he's the Son.